Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 12th of January and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in this particular video, we are going to cover entire Hindu newspaper. We'll take all articles along with their background as well as detailed way forward. And also I would like to tell you that in this particular session, all the articles that we are going to discuss, you can you can take down those articles. There is the synoptic notes that I have provided here. You can download these particular synoptic notes. Here all the articles notes are given. Link for the notes are given. These notes are available on Telegram channel and link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. So you can visit Telegram and from there you can download these notes. Now moving on and first of all, let's see overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are important in the newspaper for today. So here on first page we have this article, direct tax kitty crosses 80% of 23-24. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. Fine. So basically, net collections, they have touched 14.7 lakh crore rupees. 14.7 lakh crore rupees. Now, one thing is that you need not to remember the exact numbers. Moreover, the pictures will become more clear in the coming days. So basically, 80% of the target has been reached. And also we find this particular thing that there is a growth of around 19.4%, which shows that economy is performing good, economy is doing good, because the direct tax, when it is improving, it is a good positive sign of the economic conditions. Okay, now moving on, after that, Trinamool Congress power over Lok Sabha poll seat sharing, nothing much important for the examination. Then further moving on, South Africa accuses Israel of genocide in Palestine, asks UN court to step in. So this particular article we have seen the day before yesterday also, that the South Africa has moved to the International Court of Justice, saying that the Israel need to immediately suspend the war that it is taking in the Gaza, and also it is a kind of a genocide. However, we have seen this particular thing that as we talk about the ICJ, we have seen that though it can issue the order, but enforceability is a very big thing. Okay, then further moving on, after that, moving on in this particular direction, guys, then we have the advertisements. Okay, and in the regional issues, regional political articles have been mentioned. Okay, now moving in this particular capacity, guys, directly will reach to editorial section, because still editorial, nothing important relevant has been given here, largely the advertisements are filled. Okay, so reaching to editorial, and here first article that we have, Indian Parliament, a promise spurned. We'll take this particular article for examination. Then we have this article, the Speaker's Court. So this article talks about the recent Maharashtra political controversy, which recently the Speaker in Maharashtra Assembly has given its decision with respect to who is the real Shiv Sena. We'll take this particular article. Then further moving in this direction, a Bangladesh one party state and India's option. We'll see this particular article also. Then guys, this article talks about the taboo rotational plan. So recently we have seen this thing that Punjab government accused the center that Punjab is being discriminated because their tableau that they want to showcase on Republic Day parade has not been selected. Now, in this direction, already we have seen yesterday that now the Defense Ministry have come out with a new plan. According to this new plan, 15 tableaus can be displayed in Republic Day. And if 15 tableaus are there, all the states and union territories cannot get a chance every year. So once in a 3 years, the state and UTs, they will get their chance. So this tableau rotational plan has been brought. Then moving on, after that we have this article, are antibiotics over prescribed in India? So actually guys, there are two articles on the antibiotics over prescription, one here and one science section. We'll take this particular article. Then further moving on in this direction, strained ties in India-Maldives relation. We'll take this particular article. Again, the article is talking about the tableau selection. So basically guys, no need to go too much in detail in this particular article for exam point of view. Okay, then unveiling the imbalance in heroic narratives of Hindi mainstream cinema. Okay, so this particular article, it is a limelight article where basically premise of the movies etc are often discussed. Okay, then further moving on, Agnipath scheme was brought after consultation army chief. Okay, then in this capacity, then we have the articles largely related to the law and order etc. Fine. Moving on in this capacity, okay, here we have largely the political articles. Malice against Modi has made Congress oppose even God, BJP, and all such things are there. Ensure a spotless election, CEC tells the state polls officials. Then Surat, Indore, cleanest cities, Maharashtra top state list. We will take this particular article for examination as what it is talking about. Then crime in Delhi railway station rise by 105%. So, guys, understand this particular thing, that again, really not needed to go that how many cases were registered in 2022, how many cases are registered in 2023. That minuscule data is not that much important. Fine, because it is talking about the Delhi railway station crime. Then further, moving on in this particular direction, okay, Maldives, China commit to greater strategic cooperation, sign 20 MOUs. Now, we'll take this particular article when we are going to discuss this text and context article. So recently, Maldives President Mr. Muizu has visited China, and on that particular visit, many important high-level plans and cooperations have been signed. We'll take that also. Then further moving on, Israel strikes South Gaza as Blinken is in Egypt for talks. Okay, then coming on to the business page. So guys, business page, largely we have the corporate trends, Infosys quarter 3 profit, TCS quarter 3 net gross. Okay, so largely the corporate trends are there. Then we have sports section. And coming to the science page, so in science page also there is one article, that is the antimicrobial resistance. And on antimicrobial resistance, so many articles have come in past few days because this recently NCDC report was released. Okay, now two things. Now this antimicrobial resistance article, it is more focusing that how different pharmaceutical companies, innovators, researchers, they are coming with new drugs, new antibiotics, etc. So on the entrepreneurship side, this article is there. Okay, however, antimicrobial resistance is also mentioned in one of an article, okay, in the editorial. So this is about the newspaper overview for today, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. And guys, I want to again inform you that you please download the synoptic notes of this particular session from Telegram channel. And also, before we start every session, we take some MCQ questions, multiple choice questions, which are based on the previous coverage that we have done. And this is really good to see that most of you are participating in the daily quiz. I want you guys that please do keep on participating in it because it further enhances your revision. Okay, so let's take the first answer for yesterday's question, and then secondly, we are going to take today's MCQ question. So first of all, let's take the yesterday's questions and what was their right answer. So this was first of all a previous year question. Which of the following pair is incorrect? Abul Fazl. Okay, so the pattern I hope is clear. We take one previous year question and then current affairs question. So Abul Fazl, chief advisor. So this is correct. This is correct. Faizi was a poet. Yes, it is also the correct. Birbal, finance minister. Now, Birbal was not the finance minister. Birbal was not the finance minister. Rather, he was a court jester or advisor. Advisor. So, therefore, option C is not correct. And what the question is asking? Question is asking incorrect one. So, incorrect one is C. So, I hope that you got the answer. Then, moving on to next question. So, next question. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements. AQI, air quality index, measures 8 contaminants including lead and cobalt. Including lead and cobalt. Now, whether this particular statement is right or whether this particular statement is wrong. So basically guys, this particular statement is not right. Why? Because it does not measure the cobalt. It does not measure cobalt. It measures lead. Okay, so what are the 8 contaminants that are measured by air quality index? So it measures PM 2.5, it measures PM 10, it measures ozone, it measures carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, lead and ammonia. Lead and ammonia. So cobalt is not there. Then by 2024, National Clean Air Program hopes to cut the average PM concentration by 80%. This statement is wrong. Why it is wrong? Number one, that we have seen just 2 days back this entire article, and there we have already seen that what has happened. This date, this deadline has number one been pushed from 24 to 26. Second, it does not aims to cut the concentration by 80%, rather it aims to cut the concentration by 20 to 40%. So this statement is wrong. This statement is wrong. What is the right option? Right option is D, none of the above. Okay, then next question. Which of the following statement about International Court of Justice is correct? So why this question? Because recently we have seen South Africa has filed a petition against Israel for its war in Gaza. So therefore ICJ was in news. So let's consider the statements. Fine. So first of all, question is asking us to consider the correct statement. The court is permanently in session in Geneva. No, this is not right. This is wrong. We have already seen that it is in Hague. Then all questions before it are decided by the majority of judges. It is correct. The judges are elected for a 6-year term. No, it is not correct. Judges are elected for the term of 9 years. Then retiring judges are not eligible for re-election. Again, it is wrong. They are eligible. They are eligible. They are eligible. Okay. So what will be the right option? Right option will be B. Okay. So I hope that you got the right answer. Now let's take the MCQ questions for today. Let's take the MCQ questions for today. So first question is, World Employment and Social Outlook Trend 2024 report is brought by which of the following institutions? So yesterday we have seen this topic. Please mark the right option and leave it in the comment box. What is the right option? International Organization for Workers' Right, International Labour Organization, World Economic Forum, World Bank. Okay, so please identify the right option and leave your answer in the comment box. Then consider the following statements. Lake fog forms when cold and moist air flows over relatively colder waters. Radiation fog is prevalent after unseasonably warm day with high humidity. Now we have seen this article in text and context section because recently there was high fogs that got developed in North India, which impacted the traffic movement, railway movement, airway movement. And so what is the correct option? Okay, so this is the question. So then moving on, the third question. Which of the following are in Agastyamalai Biosphere Reserve? So this is a previous year question, a mapping based question. Fine. So you need to consider the right option and need to leave your answer. So guys, just I will advise that pause the video for 30-40 seconds, identify the right answer and please leave it in the comment box. Fine. Please make it a radical habit that you do it every day. Okay. Now, moving on. Okay. So let's start with the session. Okay guys, so every class we start with the GS quotation and today we are going to take quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, indifferentism is the worst kind of disease that can affect people. Indifferentism means a kind of an apathy, an attitude of indifference where you are not concerned with the problems, grievances, concerns of other people. And such apathy is the worst kind of disease which affects the people in the today's society. So this idea can be used in GS paper number 4, Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude, and in the Human Values chapter. Now, moving on in this particular direction. And so guys, we have also introduced this concept of one world mapping every day, because you know this thing that questions in exam on mapping are being asked so much. So this is an exercise in that particular thing, so that 1-2 question if they are asking in prelims, you are able to secure it. And these mapping we largely take from current affairs because this is the pattern in UPSC also. So guys, what happened? First of all, recently Ecuador declared a state of emergency. Why it declared a state of emergency? Because there were some gunmen who entered a TV studio while the live telecast was going on. Okay, so after this incident, a national emergency was declared. Okay, so this is about it. An emergency was declared. So let's see the important facts with respect to the Ecuador. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about Ecuador, the names Ecuador comes from the point that Ecuador is located on equator. It is located on equator. So very important thing that equator passes from Ecuador. Then when we talk about the Ecuador, how many neighbors Ecuador has? Ecuador has 2 neighbors. In the north, we have Colombia and in the south, we have Peru. We have Peru. So Colombia and Peru are the two neighbors of Ecuador. It is a country in which continent? It is a country in South America. In South America. And here we see that it is bounded on the western side with the Pacific Ocean. It is bounded on the western side with the Pacific, sorry. It is bounded on the Pacific side with the Pacific Ocean. Fine. Then the next is, so here we see that there are the Galapagos Islands. Galapagos Island. Now Galapagos Island, they are also under Ecuador, and Galapagos Island, where they are situated in the Pacific. So Galapagos Island, Ecuador, situated in Pacific. Neighbors are Colombia as well as Peru. Now guys, also when we talk about the Ecuador, fine, there are some important geographical aspects of South America that you should understand. Some important aspects of South America that you should understand. So basically guys, here you can see that we have the map of South America. Just a minute. Fine. Now, here, first of all guys, when we see, so here there is the iconic Andes mountain range. Andes mountain range. And when we talk about these Andes mountain range, they run on the west coast of South America. They run on the west coast of South America. And there are Andes mountains which are also present in Ecuador, Now understand, when we talk about the geography of Ecuador, it is very interesting and very unique kind of geography. Why? Because guys, when we talk about the Ecuador, so Ecuador has snow-capped peaks. Why snow-capped peaks? Because of the presence of the Andes mountain range. So snow is one extreme. Then on other extreme, it also has a desert. Why it has a desert? Because the southern shore of the Ecuador is largely the desert, and also it has the lush Amazon forest because it lies in the Amazon lowlands. So Ecuador has all the three types of geography: snow-capped peaks, desert, and forest. Forest because of Amazon, snow-capped peaks because of the Andes mountain range, and desert because the southern tip is the deserted area. It is the deserted area. Also guys, when we talk about South America and the regions around Ecuador, so just let's understand the basic geography. So here we have Guiana Highlands. Here we have the Amazon basin. Okay, Amazon river is draining through here largely from the Brazil. Then here we have the Brazilian Highlands. Okay. Then we have the Patagonia desert here. Now Patagonia happens to be one of the most driest place. Okay, one of the most driest place. Okay. Then guys, also here we have the Mount Aconcagua. One of the highest peak and also the highest here, Mount Aconcagua. Okay. Then fine, moving on. Then further some important aspects with respect to the Ecuador is that when we talk about Ecuador, so Ecuador is located in Western South America, already we have seen, and it is located on one hand it is bound by Pacific, on another hand it is bound by the equator. There by the name Ecuador also comes. Also guys, understand this particular thing that when we talk about Ecuador, Ecuador has also Mount Cotopaxi. Now what is Mount Cotopaxi? This is the tallest active volcano in the world. It is the tallest active volcano in the world. It is also situated in Ecuador, and the highest peak of Ecuador is Chimborazo. It is the highest peak of Ecuador, not Andes. Highest peak of Ecuador. And where it lies? It lies in the Andes. Also, when we talk about Ecuador, so guys, Constitution of Ecuador is the first constitution in the world that acknowledge the ecosystem rights, or the rights of the nature, rights of water, rights of river, rights of plants, trees, etc. So this is the first country which recognize the rights of the nature. And also Ecuador is often in the news. Why? Because of the drug trafficking gangs that are wide prevalent in Ecuador, and often it becomes a problem of law and order. So guys, this is all about the Ecuador. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving on. Okay, fine. So let's take the first article for today. So first article that we are going to take, is the speaker's quote. Speaker's quote. Now, guys, this article is important for our GS paper number 2, polity and related issues. Polity and related issues. By the way, this article concerns Maharashtra political crisis. If you don't have any idea about this particular issue, then I will advise you that what you can do, you can go and you can watch the yesterday's newspaper analysis, because they are from the scratch from 2019. I have explained this entire controversy, that what has happened in Maharashtra. However, today also we will revise it briefly so that you can get the context of this particular article. Okay, so basically guys, when we talk about the Maharashtra, so in 2019, elections were conducted in Maharashtra, and to form the government, the party needs to have 145 seats in the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly. Any party want to form government needs to have at least 145 seats. Now what happened? No party was able to get 105 seats. BJP got the highest seats, 105, but still was not able to form the government. And what happened in this situation? Shiv Sena formed the government. Now Shiv Sena, it has around 56 seats. It did not also had the majority, but it made a coalition with a lot of other political parties, and MVA, coalition government, was formed. Okay, so this was something that is happening. But then guys, what happened in 2022? In 2022, one of the political leader within the Shiv Sena, that is Mr. Eknath Shinde. Mr. Eknath Shinde, he rebelled against the Shiv Sena. He rebelled against the Shiv Sena at that point of a time. Now, in 2019, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray became the chief minister. So, Eknath Shinde rebelled against the Uddhav Thackeray and said this particular thing, that we don't want to support you. And Mr. Eknath Shinde said that he had the support of 47 MLAs, and he is going to support the BJP in forming the government. He is going to support the BJP in forming the government. Now you see, BJP already had 105 seats. Now at that point of a time, whip of Shiv Sena party, they issued the orders to these MLAs that you please don't rebel, you don't support BJP. They issued the whip to rebel MLAs. Now what happened? Eknath Shinde faction, they also appointed their own whip. So within the Shiv Sena, now we have the two whips. One whip appointed by the Eknath Shinde section, and one whip appointed by the Uddhav Thackeray section. Okay, now what happened? Eknath Shinde and this particular section, they approached the governor. What they did? They approached the governor and they asked the governor, then please call for a floor test. Please ask Uddhav Thackeray to prove his majority in the house. Governor invited Uddhav Thackeray that you come and you please prove the majority in the house. Now, obviously, Uddhav Thackeray would not be able to prove the majority. Why? Because guys, these 47, these so many of the MLAs, they are not going to support Uddhav Thackeray. So Uddhav Thackeray, without facing the trust vote, resigned. He resigned. Now, as he resigned, what happened? Governor invited Eknath Shinde that you prove your majority in the house. Eknath Shinde was able to prove. Why? Because 105 MLAs of BJP supported it and 40 plus MLAs he had the support. Okay, so he was able to prove the majority and new government was formed in the Maharashtra. Now this entire matter, what happened? This entire matter reached the Supreme Court. Okay. Number one question that was raised, that whose whip will be binding? Okay. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that here two concepts emerge. First of all, let's understand these two concepts and then we'll go in this particular article. So one is the concept of political party. Two concepts emerge here. Let's see them. One is political party and other is legislative party. One is political party, other is the legislative party. Now, first of all, what is the political party? Political party is organization. Political party is organization which has entire structure, which has entire system in the place. And what is legislative party? So, Shiv Sena is political party. What is legislative party? Now, see this thing, that some of the members of the Shiv Sena will win election and they will sit in the legislative assembly. So legislative party is the party represented by MLAs sitting in the house. Again, I'll repeat. Legislative party is the parties represented by MLAs sitting in the house. And what is political party? Political party is the entire organization, entire structure. That is the political party. So you know that, let's say in the Shiv Sena, there is some any political party, there is somebody who is a president, there is somebody who is a chairman. Many number of times they might not be sitting in parliament, they might not be sitting in legislative assembly, but you cannot say that they don't play an important role. Okay, so political party is the original party. Legislative party is the ones, it is represented by the MLAs sitting in the house. So whose whip will be important, political parties or legislative parties? Means the MLAs who are in the house, Eknath Shinde and the rebels, their whip will be important or the political party's whip will be important. So Supreme Court said that very clearly, it is the political party's whip that will be important. It is the political party's whip that will be important, not the legislative party. Now again one more question developed, that which is the political party? Is Uddhav Thackeray the whom which Uddhav Thackeray is representing, that is the political party, or Eknath Shinde is he is representing, that is the political party? So there are these many confusions that got developed. Supreme Court said that this matter, that which is the real Shiv Sena, that matter will be decided by the speaker. Okay, I'm just coming on that particular thing, but before that, one more concept I want to explain you. Guys, understand why they are so much interested in whip. Why they are so much interested in whip. Now understand this particular thing. You might already be knowing about the anti-defection law. You might already be knowing about anti-defection law, under which the legislators can be disqualified from the house. Legislators can be disqualified from the house. Now, the Uddhav Thackeray faction, they say that we issued the whip to rebel MLAs. We issued the whip to rebel MLAs. They denied the whip and they supported BJP. So they want that these MLAs need to be disqualified under the anti-defection law. So therefore, everybody is so much interested behind the whip. Now, when Supreme Court gave the judgment, Supreme Court gave one simple rule, that it is the political party's whip that will prevail. Now, after that, everything will be decided by the speaker. After that, everything will be decided by the speaker. Why speaker will decide it? Because under anti-defection law, it is the presiding officer, speaker in the case of legislative assembly, who will decide that who will get disqualified, who will not get disqualified. So further call will be taken by the speaker. Okay. Now, day before yesterday, Maharashtra Assembly's speaker has given its decision. In the decision, he said this particular thing, that political party is not the Uddhav Thackeray section. Political party is the Eknath Shinde section. Political party is the Eknath Shinde section. Therefore, whip of Uddhav Thackeray section is meaningless. Therefore, whip of Uddhav Thackeray section is meaningless. Whose whip will prevail? Eknath Shinde's whip will prevail. Now see, if Uddhav Thackeray section's whip is irrelevant, means the rebel MLAs, they will not be disqualified from the house. Rebel MLAs will not be disqualified from the house. And this particular thing is now being called by many names, that it is a murder of democracy. It is being said that it is a kind of an engineered decision that has been given. All such kind of things are coming. Okay. Now, basically, guys, the article, so I have provided this entire detail here. Okay, whatever I have explained, don't worry, you can see. Now, all these particular observations, what they point? They point out this particular thing, that the speaker, okay, now understand this particular thing, that the speaker's role has come in between. Now, always it is being said that in the matters of disqualification, rather than giving this authority to speaker, because often speaker is inclined towards the ruling party. So it has been said that this matter is to be decided by an independent authority. Certain recommendations have been given. For example, election commissioner or election commission should be given the power, or some tribunal kind of a body is to be established. So again, these questions have been raised, whether something right happened or not. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. Moving on to the next article. Sir, can you once repeat political party and legislative party? See, let's take one example. Suppose there is Congress. Now, one is the entire organization of Congress, in which there are so many posts, so many positions. Okay, this is one party. Now, some of the members of Congress are sitting in the parliament. That is also one kind of a section of Congress only. So MLAs or MPs sitting in the house, they are called as legislative party, and the original structure that is called as a political party. This is the concept. Supreme Court said that the political parties will prevail, but a question comes that who is the political party? Is Uddhav Thackeray section the political party, or Eknath Shinde section the political party? Now the speaker ruled that it is the Eknath Shinde's section which is the political party. So this is something that is happening. Many people are saying that it is not a fair decision or something like this. Fine. Then moving on. The next article, the Indian Parliament and a promise spurned. Now this particular article, guys, this article is talking about the role of opposition in Parliament, and therefore in GS paper number 2, democratic institutions, democratic processes, fine, representative form of democracy, GS paper number 2, political systems, we are going to take this particular article. Okay, now moving on. So basically, guys, the article is giving the context of recent issue. Okay, now moving to the recent the context of this particular article. So what happened recently, we have seen that some of the people, they entered Lok Sabha. Okay, some of the people, they entered Lok Sabha and they had these gas canisters. Okay, and because now this particular thing became a very big issue. Why? Because it is a breach in the parliamentary security. And because of this breach in parliamentary security, many of the members of parliament, they asked the government to explain their point of view that how this particular breach happened. So opposition was criticizing the government incessantly. And what government did, they suspended the 146 members from both the houses of parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, so 146 members were suspended. Now, basically, guys, it has been said that this is not a parliamentary kind of process. This is not a kind of a this is not a parliamentary behavior that you are silencing opposition. Now, in this particular article, it is being provided this particular thing that, see, as the Constitution of India was being drafted, at that point of a time, unanimously it was decided that India will go for the parliamentary form of government. It was said that India will go for the parliamentary form of government. Okay. Now, first of all, before deciding on parliamentary form of government, there were certain different forms of government that was debated, that was discussed. Let's understand one by one about them first. First of all, it was discussed that presidential system should be incorporated. Now, what are the benefits of presidential system? So, number one, it will bring more stability. It will ensure the unity of a nation. Now, how it will ensure the unity of a nation? Because it will focus on the centralization of power. And through this centralization of power, uniform laws which are inclined towards some national objective, they can be framed. So, therefore, the presidential form of government is more apt, and there they took inspiration from American model. Then next idea that developed here is that now some other ones, they suggested this particular thing that we need to go for our Indian classical and tested institutions. Now understand this thing. In the ancient times, medieval times, India has its own institutions for governance. There were the sabhas, there were the samitis, and entire set of institutions we had. So we should pick up some arrangement from the ancient times, the ones which we have tested. This was one more suggestion that was given. And then the third suggestion that was given was the Swarajist model. Now, what is the Swarajist model? Swarajist model focuses on giving the powers to village level panchayats, and basically it is bottom to top approach. Fine, maximum powers will be given to the village panchayat. Fine, then the higher levels will not have that much power. Then the fourth idea that was discussed was the parliamentary form of democracy. Now, parliamentary form of democracy has its own merits, has its own benefits. What are the benefits? Number one, there can be one decisive authority the representatives, MPs and MLAs, they are the decisive authority, and at the same time, they are the voice of the citizens. They are the voice of the citizens. Also, it was provided that the executive, fine, is collectively responsible here. So this particular government can be tamed. This particular government can be restrained. Also, next thing that comes here is that basically it also makes a better space for minorities. It also makes the better space for minorities. It will not lead to the representation of majoritarianism, etc. So parliamentary form of government is the best, and therefore parliamentary form of government was incorporated in India. It was incorporated in India. Now, further guys, moving on in this particular capacity, it was provided that initially, now in the parliamentary form of government, opposition's role will be very much important. Now you know that the first election that was held, Congress get the overwhelming majority, and Congress was the only party that was there. So during the first Lok Sabha or the early years, the Congress has commanding position, and Jawaharlal Nehru was particularly sensitive to the absence of an effective opposition. Okay, however, when the opposition started taking place in 1960s, Jawaharlal Nehru was also not very much comfortable with it, and since then, a negative attitude in ruling party towards the opposition has been formed. Whatever means they can subvert opposition, they try to do that. Okay, now moving on in this direction, it has been provided that, see, when we talk about opposition, opposition can play the role of a constructive critique, can keep government on its toes, can keep the government accountable. Now, this is something that opposition tried to do in the face of this security lapse that happened recently. But what happened? There, that the opposition was suspended, and actually it was the duty of the opposition to demand the accountability of the government. But for such kind of a thing, it is getting silenced. Now, rather than doing this, what could have been done? The government should have created a committee. Government should have created a committee on security, and should have given assurances that the committee on security is working, and once the report will come, we will share with you. This could have been more parliamentary way. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that here there is one particular case study that has been mentioned in the article. Now, this particular case study points out that how parliamentary process, parliamentary decorum, parliamentary conduct has been given a lot of importance by the leaders earlier, but that is not happening now. So here they mention one particular episode that once Jawaharlal Nehru, he sent a note to the speaker G.V. Mavalankar. Fine, and the note read, "Sir, I have some urgent work with you. Will you come to my chamber?" And at that point of time, speaker wrote in the same note, according to the accepted conventions of parliamentary life, a speaker does not go to the chamber of any executive, including of the prime minister. If you have any work, you come to my chamber. Nehru apologized and obliged. So parliamentary process, parliamentary decorum, parliamentary conduct was given that much importance in the initial years of independence, but now that is not happening. Real role of opposition is to criticize the government, but when that is happening, they are getting silenced. So such kind of a thing should not happen. It does not give a nice impression. So this is something about this particular article. I hope, guys, that you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. Okay, a Bangladesh one party state and India's options. Okay, now, so recently, guys, we have seen that Bangladesh election were conducted, and in these particular elections, Sheikh Hasina Sheikh Hasina has secured the overwhelming majority, And when we talk about the Sheikh Hasina government, India always had a cordial relation with Sheikh Hasina. And because of this particular victory of Sheikh Hasina, now we can assured of further continued cooperation with Bangladesh. And first of all, guys, it is also very much important. Why? Because nowadays, when we see India's neighborhood first policy, it is being questioned because Maldives outrightly is going towards the China. Same thing has been observed in Nepal. Pakistan-India equation is not anyhow good. Okay, even in the Sri Lanka, we find there are certain inclinations that the Sri Lanka is getting inclined towards the China. So in this particular time, it is very important for India to have the neighbors who are courting for India. And Sheikh Hasina has been the time-tested friend of India, and emergence of Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh is going to be very important for India. And what has happened? India has congratulated the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on the return of power. Okay, now guys, there is one more issue that has come here. Now, what is the issue that has come here? Number one, there are a lot of allegations that have been made on Sheikh Hasina, Awami League, that they have involved into the corruption in election. There were many videos that came that the underage children were being made to vote. Also, it has been said that she and her political party has silenced the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party Jamaat-e Islami coalition. They have been silenced, and the election is becoming a one-sided election. Election is becoming a one-sided election. Now, it has been said that, see, when we talk about the USA actually has held a double standard, that is a democracy at home and the support of autocratic regimes at abroad. This is the USA's policy. Now, it has been said that when we talk about the Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, she has met with a lot of criticism that the political elections are not free and fair. And India congratulating seems that it is supporting the autocracies abroad to suit its strategic interest as USA does. As USA does, India might be doing the same thing. This kind of a picture is being created. This kind of a perception is being created. Now, India has to ensure that this perception does not spread. Now, when we talk about the Miss Hasina, she came to the power for the fifth time. She came to the power for fifth time. Okay. Now, further, guys, there are a lot of irregularities that are there. Now, India is the world's most populous democracy, and we have a need to support the friendly government. We have to support the friendly government, but these are the controversial elections. These were the controversial elections, and there, if India is supporting Bangladesh, then within the Bangladesh, anti-India sentiments might emerge, and this time we have seen that anti-India sentiments are on all-time high in Bangladesh, that India is supporting a corrupt government. This kind of a thing is now coming. Now, when we talk about the Bangladesh Parliament now has now it looks like an extended National Council of the Awami League only. So, Parliament of Bangladesh looks like the extension of Awami League. Okay, so we find this particular thing that opposition is virtually absent in Bangladesh. It is virtually absent in Bangladesh. Now, Miss Hasina's advisor, he has said this particular thing that it can be compared with the Indian situation. It can be compared with the Indian situation. How it can be compared with the Indian situation? It has been said this particular thing that in India also, there is no recognized opposition leader. There is no recognized opposition leader. Now, why? Not because that the government is not allowing, but because the Congress, which happens to be the ruling opposition party, is not even able to secure 10% of the seats. So it is because of the poor performance that opposition is not there in India, and they say that in the same case in Bangladesh also, it is the poor performance of the other political parties that they are not able to come to the parliament. Government has not done anything. Government has not done anything. So this is something that is being suggested. Now, guys, moving on in this particular capacity, when we talk about the election, so Miss Hasina has described India as a trusted friend, but at the same time, there is also one more concern that is there. Actually, pro-Indian leaders within the Awami League, many of them have been eliminated silently. And today we see that the new cabinet basically it is very much hard to induct some pro-Indian leaders in the cabinet because pro-Indian leaders in the house are missing. Fine. So this is something that is there. And if pro-India leaders will not be in the cabinet of Sheikh Hasina government, then further India's influence might decline. And already I've told you that India's influence in neighborhood is anyhow declining because of the Maldives, which is openly supporting China. Nepal is also getting inclined towards China. Pakistan equations is not good. Same thing is happening with the Sri Lanka also. So this is now very important time that what India needs to do. India needs to stop putting all its egg in the Awami League basket. We need to support the other political parties also. Because there might be the situation that a kind of an Aam Aadmi Party phenomena might happen in Bangladesh also. Fine, so Aam Aadmi Party, from nowhere it formed the government in Delhi, government in Punjab, so some other parties will emerge. Now, if you remember, we have seen one article in the past also in the same line. Basically what happens, India has followed the policy of negotiating or cooperating with the ruling government. But that is wrong, and we have seen it in the case of the Maldives. So earlier, when Ibu Soli government was there in the Maldives, we negotiated with that government only. Opposition was outrightly taking up the India out campaign. We did not pacify them. We did not ensure that how to remove their grievances. And what happened ultimately? This opposition now became the ruling, and India is facing the problem. So India, rather than engaging only with the ruling, needs to ensure that how we can engage with the opposition and the other political parties also. And this strategy now we need to switch. Okay, so this is about this article. And now moving to next article. Are antibiotics over prescribed in India? Okay, now this article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice issues related to the health. Social justice issues related to the health. Okay, now first of all, why this article has come in the news? Because recently what happened, the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, it has a release on the indiscriminate use of antibiotics in India. According to this particular report, it was find that now the survey was done in 10,000 hospital patients, and it was found that in the 55% of the patients, fine, antibiotics were prescribed as a preventive measure. Means they did not had any they did not had any fungal bacterial infections, but just for preventing that tomorrow they don't get, antibiotic was prescribed. Then only in 45% people, antibiotics were prescribed to treat the infection. But out of this, only 6% were prescribed the antibiotic after detecting that which infection is there. Now understand this thing. For different infections, different type of antibiotics are prescribed, they are given. Okay, so only 6% people were the ones who were given antibiotics after identifying the specific bacteria. So point is that because of this indiscriminate use of antibiotics, India might see the problem of antimicrobial resistance. India might see the problem of antimicrobial resistance. Now let's understand what is antimicrobial resistance. So antimicrobial resistance in very simple terms can be defined as a resistance that is developed in microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, etc. against the drugs, against the antibiotics. Now understand this thing. Now every organism evolves. Every organism evolves. Suppose there is a bacterial infection to a person, and in the case of bacterial infection, antibiotics is taken by that particular person. Now this antibiotic will kill that particular bacteria which is causing the infection. But again and again, when I will expose the same drug to the bacteria, what will happen? It will develop certain immunity. It will develop a response. It will evolve and will become resistant to that particular drug. So what is happening when we are indiscriminately using the antibiotics? What happens? These microorganisms, they become resistant, and the same drugs then don't work on them. And in the context of India, we find this particular thing, that we have, for example, E. coli, okay, Klebsiella, okay, Acinetobacter. They have become resistant to the latest generation antibiotics. Okay, they have become resistant to latest generation antibiotics. And tomorrow, this is going to be the biggest health challenge. People will not get treated of common infections. Why? Because antibiotics are not working on them. Antibiotics are not working on them. Now, why we have reached to this particular stage? Why we have reached to this particular stage? So we have reached to this particular stage because of multiple reasons that are there. Number one, inappropriate use of antibiotics in the non-bacterial infections. So as you have seen that even for preventive measures, antibiotics is being given. Then second is inadequate laboratory facilities to inform clinician about what would be an appropriate antibiotic. Now see, even if a bacterial infection is found, you need to, now see, when we talk about antibiotics, they are defined as the first line of antibiotics, second line of antibiotics, third line of antibiotics. For example, you might have heard about the augmentin. Augmentin is a very powerful antibiotic and it is not to be given as in a first instance, but many number of times doctors are giving it as a first instance. So often what is happening, what is the appropriate antibiotic? Even in the case of bacterial infections, that is not being told to the doctors. Clinical tests are often not there. If they are there, they are very expensive. So often what the doctors are doing, when they find a bacterial infection, they are just shooting in the dark. They are just throwing a bunch of antibiotics. Whatever work will work. Then lack of adequate training in antibiotic selection, escalation, de-escalation, when it is to be increased, when it is to be reduced. Then inadequate monitoring on antimicrobial resistance and control. So doctors are prescribing and over-the-counter antibiotics are available today. So there is an indiscriminate, there is no proper monitoring of that particular thing. Then incentivization of prescribing practices by the pharmaceutical industry. So there was this Dolo scandal that happened a few months back, that what was happening, MRs, they were giving, medical representatives were giving a lot of money to the doctors to prescribe a particular kind of a drug. So often the pharmaceutical companies, they lobby doctors to prescribe antibiotics. So this is also the reason that the antibiotics are getting prescribed. Okay. Now, moving on. Today, guys, when we talk about the antimicrobial resistance, it is actually a complex problem. Fine, and it also has a socio-economical dimension to this. Let's understand this thing. Today, when we talk about this antimicrobial resistance, it might impact largely the poor people. Why? Because the poor people are the one. See, understand this particular thing, that a rich person, if a rich person has a disease, has a kind of a medical problem, might still be able to afford the clinical test, might be able to go for the blood test, and might be able to get a particular and a customized kind of solution. But poor people might not able to avail that. Often they are buying the over-the-counter drugs, and even in that over-the-counter drug, the pharmacists are giving them these antibiotics. So this antimicrobial resistance is becoming a socio-economic problem also. Now, already in this particular direction, we have the NCDC guidelines and multiple other guidelines to initiate the antibiotics in different types and different sites of infection. Given the severity of infection, different type of antibiotics are to be given. But the problem is that it is not implemented in India. It is not implemented in India. Now understand this particular thing. What are the problems in the context of India that we have? Number one, what we are lacking is rapid diagnostic and good network of labs. Many number of times people living in tier 2, tier 3 villages, their labs are not there so that they can get tested that which type of infection is there and which type of antibiotic is needed. Also guys, what is needed? COVID-19 has taught us importance of small steps such as washing our hands, wearing a mask, etc. This is something that can be done which can prevent the infections first, and if infections will not be there, antibiotics is not to be taken. Then after that, in 2011, National Policy for Containment of Antimicrobial Resistance was introduced. National Policy for Containment of Antimicrobial Resistance was introduced. Okay. Now, this particular policy specifically issued the guidelines to tame the antimicrobial resistance, and in 2013, after the Chennai Declaration, H1 rule was initiated where second and third line antibiotics were banned. Second and third line of antibiotics were banned to be bought onto the over the counter, and on very special circumstances they can be given. But again, the problem that has come is they are not getting implemented. In 2019, government had banned the use of colistin as a growth promotional agent in poultry farming. So guys, if now if you know this particular thing, often the poultry, fine hens, chickens, they are being given the antibiotics so that they gain weight, and the colistin is the antibiotic that is being used. And one thing I want to tell you, that this colistin is the third line of antibiotic. This is the most potent and very heavy antibiotic. If you develop resistance against colistin, then other antibiotics are not going to work. And in the poultry, there is indiscriminate use. In 2019, it was banned. But problem is that even still it is being used into the poultry sector because it happens to be an unregulated activity. And all of you which consume a lot of non-vegetarian food, you should particularly be mindful about it, because the indirectly, when a chicken that is being fed with antibiotics, you are consuming it, it is getting transmitted to your body as well. Now, moving on, and let's take this article, strained ties in India-Maldives relation. We'll take this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, international relation, India-Maldives relation. India-Maldives relation. So, guys, when we talk about the India-Maldives, you know this particular thing that recently India-Maldives relation actually got declined. It actually got declined. Why it got declined? Multiple steps have happened in this capacity. We are going to see. The latest one is the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Mr. Modi went to Lakshadweep Island, and as he went to Lakshadweep Island, certain ministers within the Maldives start calling Prime Minister with certain derogatory names, which is not at all acceptable at any level. These ministers were suspended. Okay, such kind of episode has unfolded. Now, first of all, when we talk about the Maldives, Maldives often happens to be a very important maritime neighbor of India in the Indian Ocean. Now, you see this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the China is increasing its footprint in Indian Ocean. And in order to counter China, we need some reliable friends, reliable countries. And there, Maldives becomes an important partner in the Indian Ocean region, Now, when we talk about the Maldives-India relations, they have been cordial, they have been very much good, particularly between 2013 to 2018. When we talk about, this was the period when the India-Maldives relation got impacted. Why? Because Abdullah Yamin became the president between 2013 to 2018, and he was pro-China. But after 2018, what happened? Mr. Ibu Soli, fine, of the Maldivian Democratic Party came to the power, and he started the India First policy. So 2018 to 2023 was a very good phase between India-Maldives relation. Now, when we talk about, guys, Abdullah Yamin, during his time only, the Maldives also joined the Belt and Road Initiative, but much of the damage that was done by the Abdullah Yamin was corrected by the Mr. Ibu Soli when he became the president. And he adopted the India First foreign policy. And in that, he openly said that we want to establish the deep ties with India on foreign, on defense, on security, on economy. Okay, and there were many high level exchanges that were also happened between India and Maldives between the period of 2018 to 2023. Okay, now, guys, as this particular thing was happening, opposition, they started criticizing the Ibu Soli government, saying this particular thing, that that undue favors are being given to India. Undue favors were being given to India. Particularly, guys, there was the Uthuru Thila Falu deal that was carried with the Maldives. What was this particular deal? In this particular deal, jointly India and Maldives will develop the National Defence Force Coast Guard Harbour in Maldives. National Defence Force Coast Guard Harbour in Maldives. And after this, opposition parties, they started India Out campaign against India. What they did? They started India Out campaign against India. Okay. Now, when we talk about this India Out campaign, this India Out campaign was led by pro-China former Maldivian President Yamin, who was in power in 2013 to 18. However, he was not able to become the president. Who became president? President became Mr. Mohammed Muizzu. And Mr. Mohammed Muizzu belonged to the camp of former President Yamin. Okay. And when he was when he was fighting the elections, when he was in the race of presidentship, he openly released this particular statement saying that once he came to the power, he will remove the Indian troops. He will remove the Indian troops from the Maldivian shores, also will balance the trade relations. Okay, and he said this thing that I will neither be pro-India, nor I will be pro-China, I will be pro-Maldives. But that is not happening. Clearly, he is becoming more and more pro-China. So, what happened when Mr. Mohammed Muizzu became the president? Number one thing, what he did, he skipped India as the first destination for foreign visit and traveled the Turkey in November. Now, this has been seen that the Maldivian president have visited India as the first priority when the election happened, but he skipped that. The next thing that happened here is that Mr. Muzu has also traveled to UAE and now is in China. Now is in China. And this visit to China shows the pro-China tilt. Also what has happened? Also what has happened? Basically, he also did not participated in the Colombo Security Conclave. Colombo Security Conclave, which is led by India, and also have denied that hydrographic surveys the hydrographic surveys that are being conducted in the Maldivian waters by India and Maldives, they will not be conducted. So it clearly shows the Mohammed Mizu's policy of anti-India and pro-China. Okay, so this is something that needs to be balanced, and India needs to recalibrate its foreign policy in the face of the changes that have come here. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. And now moving on to the next article. Surat, Indore, cleanest cities, Maharashtra tops state list. Okay, so guys, recently Swachh Bharat Sarvekshan has been carried. Now, first of all, what is the Swachh Sarvekshan survey? We will understand that, and first we understand Swachh Sarvekshan, then we'll go in this particular article. Just a minute. Okay. Now, guys, when we talk about the Swachh Sarvekshan, it is an annual survey that is being conducted since 2016. And in this particular survey, what is happening? Basically, the cities, they are ranked on the basis of cleanliness that is there on the city. Okay, the cleanest city in the under 1 lakh population, cleanest Ganga city. Such ways, cities are ranked on the cleanliness. And this particular survey, it is the world's largest urban sanitation and cleanliness survey, and it has got started since 2016. And what is the philosophy of this survey? To foster a healthy competition in the cities to compete against each other on the cleanliness drive. And it is conducted under the Swachh Bharat Mission Urban. And who is the nodal agency, ministry to conduct this survey? It is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now, the Swachh Sarvekshan survey, okay, basically what has happened recently, Swachh Sarvekshan Awards for 2023 has been given by President. And here we find this thing that Surat in Gujarat and Indore in Madhya Pradesh, they were jointly declared as the cleanest cities of India. And in the state ranking, Maharashtra was first and Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh were after that. So in the cleanliness, we find that Surat in Gujarat and Indore in Madhya Pradesh has emerged as the most cleanest city. Now, when we talk about the Swachh Sarvekshan survey 2023, the theme was waste to wealth. How waste can be used for the wealth creation, how for example, waste can be used for generation of electricity through incineration. Same way, we have the idea of circular economy. In circular economy, we reduce, we recycle, and we reuse. Okay, so this was the theme of 2023, and the theme of 2024 happens to be reduce, reuse, recycle, and President has specifically focuses on the circular economies, that how circular economy of recycling, reusing, refurbishing plays a very important role in sustainability. Okay, fine. So this is something that has happened. Now, guys, if you see here, okay, cleanest cities, now basically, guys, state ranking, cleanest cities with less than 1 lakh population, cities on Ganga, so many different parameters are there. Now you are not really required to track every city and their rank. Okay, fine. That is, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. Guys, I hope that you have understood the session, and I hope that you have liked the video. Guys, if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button. Also, please do subscribe to the channel to get more such good videos. And also, guys, we have released the Indian mapping videos. 2 parts have been released. One was the part on extreme locations, extreme points in India, and second was on mountain ranges. Guys, if you are liking the video, please do let us know so that we come out with more videos in this particular line. So please watch that video if also you have not seen it. So that is all guys about the session. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.